Commissioner Greg Sankey is with us. Billy Lucci's still with us. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. How are you guys?
Doing great. I know Billy wanted to start things off with some news from last night.
Well, I could sit here with him all day, as everyone could. That's the problem for you here. But
Yeah, keeps moving.
first off, summer concerts. Have you gotten to do anything? Because I know you and I like to talk about that.
No, but this may we went and saw Zach Brown in April. I don't think that counts.
No, but that's summer runs in.
Spring, right? I was up at the Pinnacle in Nashville. Great little venue. So that was a lot of fun.
I saw you tweeting about something the other day.
I saw the Eagles at the Sphere. That was my second Sphere. I saw U2 out there. That was in April as well. We are going Monday night in Birmingham at a brand new amphitheater near our downtown office location. So you have Toto.
Oh, yeah.
So 80s music.
Hold the Line.
And it worked.
Oh, man.
And it worked.
Down
Colin
Under.
Haig. In between is Christopher Cross. So
Dalen. No, I would go to that concert.
Yeah, so that's my Monday night.
I saw Toto open for Journey a couple years ago. They were great.
Yep. You forget how many those classic 80s songs that they were involved in.
It's great driving music. And by the way, I saw you tweet something where I did Metallica a few weeks ago, which was
I've heard that's
awesome.
A great show.
If you ever want to join me in the pit, I got you. You've been in the pit, a different kind of pit, and it is called college football, college athletics. We were just reading, and you and I talked about it right when you walked up. There's a report: President Trump intends to sign an executive order in the coming days establishing national standards for the NCAA's NIL program. First, what was your reaction when you got news of that?
I was at the All-Star game when the texts and emails started coming in about these reports, so I didn't worry about it too much then.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to spend a day with the president, June 8th. I was with the Notre Dame athletic director, Pete Bavacqua, and we had conversations about what's happening in college sports. So he's attended games. I'm sure he'll attend games this fall. I think all of the college games he's attended has had one or more of our teams. So he has an interest in sports generally. You've seen that, an interest in college sports. But you've seen reports. There's going to be a commission. There was a report several months ago about an imminent executive order, and I kind of put that off to the side. We want to the extent we can communicate our views, do that. You have to see if something is actually done and then what it is. And I try not to react too much to the social media stuff because what you haven't seen, like on the commission, a lot of talk about there's going to be a commission on college sports, but it wasn't coming from the White House.
Okay.
It comes from the White House. So much more speculative than
How
real.
Difficult is that for you? Like, just being honest, like day to day to deal with rumor. I can't imagine the amount of people in your circle that text you every time something comes up. And then also you do have to deal with what the moving target of reality these days too.
So I joined the SEC staff in 2002 in November. And we go through the first recruiting cycle back in 2002, 2003. I don't think Twitter existed then.
Probably not.
But your email did, and you'd take incoming of, hey, this happened on a recruiting weekend, and at that point, everything would cause your blood pressure to spike.
Yeah.
Now those things happen. We deal with them responsibly, but just because something's on social media doesn't mean it's accurate. You've seen things like on a Wednesday that are reported. Since we're on a Wednesday, by Friday, there's a lot more context and information that says what was out on a particular platform was not even close to being correct.
You've been so much in the epicenter of all this change. And when I hear you speak like Monday, how much this seems like you're so passionate about, you've kind of been thrust as the commissioner of the SEC, and I think your personality as well, like into this where people are looking to you as kind of like, hey, get this sport, get college athletics back where we want it. Is that something you're enjoying, or is that like, man, this is you're going to do it regardless, I know, but is it something that you embrace and you're really passionate about? We're like, I want to be the guy to help do this.
It's a combo meal. And in my remarks, I had a line on Monday about the understanding we're in a historic transformational moment in college sports. And I know enough of the history of college sports that you can identify those moments. Now, one of the problems that I think we've experienced probably over the last 50 years is most of the major change is driven externally.
Mhm.
And that's a bit of a personal frustration.
Yeah.
But it's an acknowledgement that whether it was Title IX in the 70s, Board of Regents versus the NCAA, which changed the television construct, some of the antitrust issues, that it's hard for those within the system to step to a new reality because that system is perceived as working well. And that's the definition of what we're dealing with. Now, how do you help work through change and ideas and relevant directions now is a challenge for all of us. And there was a time where it was last September on a video conference of presidents and chancellors. I just said, hey, I wake up every day. I forget what prompted it, bearing the burden of a 90-plus year organization that's regionally central in thought and nationally prominent in our reality. That's a shared responsibility. So it's not simply about me, and it should be. I think when you're in the position, you recognize like a quarterback or a coach gets a lot of credit, a lot of blame. So that's our reality. But we share in that responsibility. Now, directly to your question, there are days I wake up really excited about the role and the opportunity, and there are days where I'm like, oh man, how did I get into this one?
I feel like sometimes I'm watching all the different ADs, commissioners, whoever it is, presidents, everybody that's involved in this. It feels like a higher level of a Twitter battle. Like at these pressers and stuff, because there is so much going around back and forth, Dave.
Well, I wanted to follow that up with the transfer portal. And do you see a world where, I don't know if limit's the right word to phrase it, but going back to having kids kind of these life lessons that you make when you have to wait a little bit for your spot and earn your spot, as opposed to taking every opportunity out there?
I was just asked on Houston radio, like, what's the one thing I would address? And I put the transfer issue at the top, believe it or not, because I think that then has ripple effects into this economic activity. But I think it speaks to the core of college athletics and the issues around education, meaningful education, around building a legacy, and around becoming part of a community. I mean, that's the reality of what college does for people on campus, for young men, young women who show up as freshmen, go through that experience, move from adolescence to adulthood, obtain a degree, but not just the degree, the education that comes with it inside the classroom and outside. If you move semester to semester, year to year, every time you move, you lose credit hours. That narrows your educational opportunities, alters your educational focus, changes the opportunity to build a legacy. I'm thinking of young people that I've seen dramatically in moments win games, be on the receiving end of a pass as the time ran out, or a shot that went in, or a home run, and then they leave for a couple of bucks potentially. But what they don't see is that enduring legacy that had they stayed, it would have been built and would have been a much greater asset for them over time. That's not something that you can fully explain sometimes. People have to see examples for that reality. And so one way to do that is not to go into lockdown mode, but to change the transfer freedom with good rationale tied to our academic mission and the values of higher education that still gives someone the opportunity to make a change if they're not in the right place, but it's not something that's facilitated on a term by term,
on a whim
basis.
Talking to Commissioner Sankey here on TexAgs. I want to make sure, did you have something? I'm sorry.
No, good.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe you would like to see the college football playoffs move into a model where it's just the 12 best teams, not 4-4-2-2, 5-11. Am I right on that?
That's my legacy position.
Is it?
And I couldn't win that fight to because there's so many interests involved that you have to compromise. And when we were going through expansion dialogue in 2019, 2020, I'm like, hey, we don't need to go beyond 4. Like if you look last year, we would have been fine at 4. Now, the ACC and the Big 12 wouldn't have had anybody in, but we would have been fine at 4. The Big
You could have had the right
fine.
4.
Yeah. But I think there were enough teams, and Ohio State's an example, that now with the breadth of support can play for a national championship in that playoff system. And so we have the allocations of 5 conference champions being included. So that's the basis of 5. Like all this talk about who's doubling down on 5 and who's committed to 5. Like 5 is a fundamental part of the agreement. Now it's how many more teams are there and how are they selected? That's the issue. It's not about the 5. I'd welcome all at-larges. I'd welcome that.
You would?
Yeah, I'd welcome that in every championship, which
Absolutely.
is self-serving. But we're in this web of mutuality, whether it's college basketball or college football, where we do provide opportunities to bring people in. I think that can work if they fulfill their commitment to support strong programs like Boise last year. Nobody griped about Boise coming in. Interestingly enough, Clemson was the one brought in out of the top 12.
True.
The ACC champion was not in the top 12. The more that happens, I think the more problematic it is to just provide assurances to conference champions, particularly because of the displacement of teams ranked in the 11-12 area. Then that motivates the potential expansion. And I think what you would see is, do we stay at 12, do we go to 14 or 16? You're going to have the fundamental 5 of conference champions, and then it's just how many more remain. That may be a much more academic explanation than you've ever heard out of the conference commissioner. Like the 5 exists, and so it's really how many more beyond the 5? Is it going to be 7 more, 9 more, or 11 more to make 12, 14, or 16? And then where we put our emphasis was not on more allocated spots, is more AQ. It is what's the selection protocol and what's the information being used to inform those selection decisions, and can that be improved?
And then are you kind of waiting, like the whole conference scheduling? Everybody always asks me that, and I go, I don't know how you really attack and address that before you know what that playoff target's going to land on.
Yeah, there's 2 contingencies around the CFP. One is the most pressing, and that's our other bowl agreements.
Yep.
And then the other is it is an important piece of information to determine how many conference games we play. And this is in a context where you see non-conference games being discontinued and cited, or the citation is, well, this won't hurt us in the selection process if we don't play this game. And I actually think that's the CFP's moment of urgency, is to address this notion that the selection process disincentivizes tough scheduling.
Right.
You want A&M and Notre Dame to play. Right.
Sure.
You want that. It was a great evening. You wanted a different outcome last year. It'd be a great experience in South Bend. I've been up there hoping for the right kind of outcome for the Ags up there. But you don't want teams walking away from those games. You don't want Nebraska not to play Tennessee. You don't want Indiana to not play Virginia. And we have some schools that are thinking about discontinuing when they've had 10 power games scheduled in future years. And I'd like to see them play.
Yeah.
But I get the concern about CFP selection, and that's part of the guiding issue for us in our own schedule decision.
And before we go, I'd love to ask you, because how familiar are you being in the area? A&M's recent hire, Bucky McMillan.
Oh, yeah.
Where the basketball league is, and had to go out and replace Buzz Williams, and went and got Bucky right there out of Samford.
Yeah, I knew Buzz when he was an assistant coach at Texas Arlington, like in '93.
Yeah,
he obviously made his decision. I think Texas A&M College Station is a great place to be the coach across the board, and you've seen that, the kind of support, the leadership, the infrastructure. And I watched Bucky in high school. I didn't know him. Mm-hmm. He probably lived a couple miles from me, and then moved to Samford. And I had a conversation with Martin Newton. Martin is the athletic director at Samford, just named the men's basketball committee chair, and he couldn't say enough good about working with Bucky. And Trev had called me, and Bucky's agent called me as well, and I went back to Martin and said, I want to make sure I remember our conversation right. And seeing Bucky and Destin, that was the conversation I had with him. He's getting after it. I mean, he's calling people for season ticket purchases this year.
He's good. He gets it. Like,
yeah, it'll be a different style of basketball. And they did a heck of a job. He had Kansas beat in the NCAA tournament when he was at Samford. So He's built his basketball pedigree, and it'll be fun to watch him.
Well, I've got
grow.
as we go, I've got a scheduling complaint, which I'm sure you never get any of. I've got a wedding the day A&M plays in Fayetteville against Arkansas. You think you can move that?
You got
Because
to work on your friends, man.
the wedding is in the Finger Lakes, and I've never seen your home area.
What
Can we
date
arrange
is that game?
It's late set. I think it's the early October.
That's a great time to be up
I think
in
it's
the
the
Finger
second
Lake
week.
region. I mean,
Is
you'll
it?
have a real fall.
Fall.
We'll
Yeah.
visit an apple orchard. I will say that game has gone back to campus, so that's a good thing, right?
Fayetteville's nice.
Back and forth. But you're going to have to make a decision. You got to make a hard decision. Friendship or football.
All right.
Yep.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
guys.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
you
doing
very
this
much.
every year. We
Yep.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you.